Let us pray. Almighty God, we bow down before Thee in humble obedience and dependence. We pray Thee, grant us the grace to respect each other this day in all our consultations, that our deliberations today shall take place in the spirit of mutual trust, so that we, as leaders, shall lead our country on the path of peace and shall find solutions for issues and problems facing us. Grant us the mercy, O Lord, that we shall today also honor Thy name in all we think, do, and say. Almighty God, we pray Thee, bless our land and all its people. This all we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Let's affirm. I solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of Namibia and its people, and I solemnly promise to uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of the Republic of Namibia to the best of my ability. Please be seated. There are no petition, and any report of standing or select committees. Who is that? Any report? None. I couldn't see any. I don't see anyone here. Other reports and paper? Other reports and papers? Other reports and paper? I was told that, okay. Notices of questions. I recognize Honorable Chiramba. You have the floor, Honorable. Yeah, put. Should be read, Meme. Honorable. Oh, don't get excited. Thank you very much. I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 13th of March 2025, I shall ask the Minister of Mines and Energy, Honorable Thomas Alwendo. Tom. Whatever. Tom comes from Thomas. Honorable Minister, Namibia currently has 14 diamond polishing companies, and only a few are actively engaged in beneficiation. In a layperson language, beneficiation is a value-added processing which involves the transformation of a primary material produced by mining and extraction processing to a more finished product, which has a higher export sales value. Given the critical role of value addition in maximizing the economic benefits of our natural resources, it is imperative to assess the effectiveness of policies governing Namibia diamond industry. The Namibia Diamond Trading Company, NDTC, as a custodian of the country's diamond distribution chain, plays a crucial role in ensuring that Namibian diamonds contribute to the nation's broader economic development objectives. However, this institution has been reduced to a policing entity, failing to fulfill its intended mandate of driving economic growth and value addition within the sector to benefit Namibians. I therefore ask the following. Can the Minister provide a comprehensive status update on all 14 diamond polishing companies, including their operational capacity, number of Namibians employed in strategic positions, their role in diamond polishing, and export contributions. What measures, if any, has a ministry undertaken to ensure that these polishing companies engage in beneficiation rather than merely exporting raw and polished diamonds? How does the NDTC regulate and oversee the local diamond industry to ensure equitable access to rough diamonds for local polishing companies? What legal framework do they use to award and terminate site status holder or site holder for polishing companies? Question number 4. In the instance that the NDTC terminates the site status holder and the site holder of polishing companies, what measures are in place to support these companies in regaining their status and that the livelihood of their employees is not affected? Finally, what policy interventions are being considered to increase local value addition, enhance job creation, and strengthen Namibia's position in the global diamond market? I so submit, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Please table the questions. Yeah, the next one is Honorable Sheku Pakera.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members. I gave notice that on Thursday, 13 March 2025, I shall ask the Minister of Education, Arts and Culture, Honorable Anna Estangi-Kondokwa, the following questions. Youth unemployment remains a critical challenge in Namibia, particularly in the education sector, where thousands of qualified teachers remain jobless despite persistent teacher shortages in rural regions. According to the Labour Force Survey, 36.6% of youth with technical education and 17.7% with tertiary education are unemployed. Furthermore, the Ministry of Education 15-day report 2023 states that 31,970 teachers are currently serving 864,700 learners in 2002 schools. Despite this, over 8,000 trained teachers have remained unemployed since 2017. And in additional 1,500 graduates are set to enter the job market in the year 2024-2025. Meanwhile, the regions such as Zambezi and Kavango continue to experience higher learner-to-teacher ratio, highlighting disparities in teacher distribution and placement. Given these alarming statistics, it is evident that urgent intervention is needed to address inefficiency in teaching recruitment and distribution to curb youth unemployment and the education sector. Therefore, I would like to ask Honourable Minister the following questions. What immediate and long-term measures is the Ministry implementing to absorb unemployment teacher graduates into the public education system, especially in unserved rural regions where shortages persist? What policy adjustments are in place to ensure equitable teacher deployment across urban and rural areas? Given the higher learner-teacher ratio in remote regions, why has the Ministry not yet redistributed unemployment teachers to under-satisfied schools? What steps is the ministry making to consultation with other stakeholders, such as Ministry of Higher Education and institutions of higher learning, to realign university and colleges' curricula to ensure that teacher training programs match actually employment needs in the education sector? How does the ministry, together with the Ministry of Higher Education and institutions of higher learning, plan to reduce the oversupply of general education graduates, such as a lower primary and upper primary, and instead promote the skills in STEM? Early childhood education, language teaching, and special needs education, which are reportedly in higher demand. Will the ministry consider reserving interviews only for promotional posts such as head of departments and principal positions, where selecting the most competent and experienced candidate is crucial? What steps is the ministry taking to reduce unnecessary delays in teacher recruitment and accelerate the observation of qualified teaching graduates into the workforce? In conclusion, Honorable Minister, given the urgent nature of youth unemployment, especially among graduate teachers, what immediate policy intervention will your ministry undertake in the 2025-2026 financial year to ensure sufficient allocation of teachers across public schools and 10 mitigate the rising unemployment crisis among qualified Namibian educators? I look forward to your response, Honorable Minister, as the matter directly impacts not only our youth and graduates, but also the overall quality of education in Namibia. I so submit.
Thank you. Table your questions, please. Next is Honorable Muroro.
I hereby move that on Thursday, 30th of March 2025, I shall request the Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Honourable Carlos Ledwine, the following. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Minister, the registration of boreholes as per the Water Resource Management Act number 11 of 2013, which took the ministry itself more than 10 years to finalize all required regulations and only came into effect on the 29th of August in 2023, has officially closed on the 28th of February 2025, and farmers who have not registered their boreholes may be fined for not complying with the above-mentioned Act. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Minister, however, the awareness campaign on the very same Act has regrettably only started on the 4th of March yesterday, after the registration of the boreholes has been closed officially. This in itself is for many of the farmers very upside down, let alone the fact that many farmers has not registered simply because of the fact that they were not informed about it. Now, Honourable Minister Sledwine, in light thereof, I request you to reopen the registration of boreholes so that the farmers, communal as well as commercial and resettled, should do this registration after having understood clearly the purpose of it via this awareness campaign, which will enlighten them about the purpose of borehole registrations that was just kicked off by your ministry on the 4th of March 2025. I so submit.
Table your questions, please. I recognize Honourable Smith.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 13th March 2025, I shall ask the Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises, Honourable Ipumbu Shimi, the following. Excessive government spending on state funerals in Namibia can strain public finances, diverting funds from essential services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Despite our country's economic challenges, spending excessive funds on state funerals gives leeway to corrupt activities, such as inflated costs for personal gain. To maintain fiscal responsibility and public confidence, state funerals should be dignified yet cost-effective. I therefore wish to ask the Honourable Minister the following. 1. How much does the government typically allocate funds for state funerals, and has this amount increased in recent years? 2. What percentage of the national budget is spent on state funerals compared to essential services like healthcare and education? 3. Given Namibia's economic challenges, is excessive spending on state funerals justifiable? 4. Are there measures in place to prevent the misuse or inflation of funeral costs? 5. How does the government ensure transparency in state funeral-related expenses? 6. Have there been discussions on exploring cost-effective alternatives while maintaining dignity and respect for the deceased? 7. How much money has the government spent on state funerals from February 2024 to the 1st of March 2025? I so submit.
Table your questions. That question will be submitted. Next, Honourable Ndinda. Honourable Ndinda.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I give notice that on Thursday, the 13th of March, I shall ask the Minister of Mines and Energy, Honourable Tom Alwendo, the following. Thomas Alwendo. I don't know who gave you this name. NAMPower has proposed a 17.44% bulk tariff increase for the 2025-2026 financial year, citing the rising operational costs and the need for financial sustainability. If approved, this increase could lead to higher electricity prices for consumers, impacting households, businesses, and the overall economy. Concerns have been raised about the potential strain on low-income families, pressures of inflation, and increased costs for industries and essential services. I therefore would like to ask the Honourable Minister the following. How do you anticipate this potential tariff increase will affect Namibian households, particularly low-income families? Number 2, are there measures being considered to mitigate the impact of the potential tariff increase on vulnerable communities? Number 3, what step is the Ministry taking to assess the broader economic impact of such a potential increase on businesses and industries, especially those heavily reliant on electricity? Number 4, has the Ministry, together with NAMPower, consider other options such as improving energy efficiency or increasing renewable energy sources to mitigate the need for such a potential significant tariff increase? Number 5, is there a plan to enhance NAMPower's financial management or reduce operational costs to lessen the need for such frequent tariff hikes? Number 6, what plans are in place to prevent future tariff increases if this proposed increase is implemented? Number 7, I just want to inform the Honourable Minister, I think all of us sitting here, we have houses, we are suffering under the city of Windhoek with this constantly increases. Our water and electricity bills remains 11,000 per month, your whole salary. This cannot continue as us. It is very costly to stay in Windhoek these days. And now if you bring in these tariffs, you are killing us, you are killing our economy. I so submit, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Table your questions. Yeah, I recognize Honorable Benani.
Very dark that side.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I rise to ask an urgent oral question to the Leader of Government Business and Prime Minister of our Republic.
How urgent is it?
It is what makes it urgent is the absolute silence from government on this matter of national importance. Diamonds were stolen. Listen very carefully before you got. Diamonds were stolen. We do not know the value of these diamonds. Whether it's $1 billion, whether it's $500 million, whether it's 350. Government is hiding behind the fact that apparently this matter is a sub-judice matter. Namibia has not given any information. They have cancelled over 7 proposed press conferences. The police said they are going to give a press conference. Now, in my language, there is a word in Oshiro that says, Omundu muyepano vidiri. I will talk okuyepano vidiri in Rukavango is if I was not very well. You know. And now I'm well.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Kurama, don't why? Because Kurama, you are the leader. These things that people are stealing countries' resources, and people want us to forget about it. Well, government must come to the party and tell us what is happening with this case, how much is involved, where are we? Because you can't be hiding on sub-duties on a matter of national importance where natural resources of our country are stolen in broad daylight. No one is is being held accountable. Apparently the police is investigating. They are not answering to press conferences. I put it to the lady of this house, the leader of this house. Where are we with the Namibia diamonds? What is happening? What is the government position?
Is the question directed to the right person?
You see, you are hiding now and I answer. You get security briefings as Prime Minister. Okay. Tell me what is happening. No.
Advise Honorable Venani that his usual practice of ambushing the Prime Minister with questions, even when he had an opportunity to notify the question and put it in writing and receive a written answer, cannot work on this issue. You see, the urgency of an issue is not determined by its importance. It's determined by the fact that the question cannot wait for the procedure that is established to be put in order for an answer to be received. I cannot understand how Honorable Venani can be attending parliamentary sessions all those days that have intervened between the date that this incident took place, and he did not give any notice. And today, all of a sudden, he has to pose that question orally. Secondly, the importance of this matter dictates that any briefing that is provided to this House on this matter must be formally presented in writing so that members are able to refer to the documents for further follow-up questions. So I know that this honourable member really just wants to be seen today. But I want to agree with him. That it is a concerning development. That concern is shared within government. The line ministries and the police all are aware of the concern of government and the expectation of government that there must be a comprehensive briefing provided, but most importantly, that briefing is going to inspire us to trust that our resources are properly secured and that there is no precedence created that any person can just come here and steal diamonds and get away with it. So that's what I want to say. I cannot give an oral answer to this question that is so important, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
I should think you somehow,
you just
she
want
did answer
propaganda. No, explain what.
You are not the Deputy Speaker. You are not the Deputy Speaker. Besides all your conjectures and innuendos, it's okay. I was already twice on television this morning. So don't worry, I am always seen. Don't worry about me being seen. Honorable Prime Minister, this is the importance of the matter. You are the leader of government business. The diamonds are stolen nearly a month ago. You have not taken the liberty to brief the country. Everybody is just quiet. Because you are a recipient of security reports in the country. You can't just be quiet and say you are still busy waiting for me to ask you the question. The onus is upon you as the leader of government to give us feedback on what is happening with our resources.
Yeah, I should think the
diamonds.
Honorable Benani.
Diamonds. We are quarreling about diamonds.
Honorable Benani, I should think the importance of the question need a thorough preparation from to whom? No. She didn't. When she come today, or whoever come today, honorable member of the official opposition, it could be better to put it in writing. Maybe tomorrow. Oh, he can. I didn't. Oh yeah. Okay, we proceed. I should think it's better maybe tomorrow we put it in writing. Everybody want to hear. Put it in writing. And to the right institution. I don't think, put it in writing tomorrow so that it can be answered the last Thursday of this parliament. The secretary will read the first order of the day. Minister, notices of motions? None. Message from the head of state? Ministerial statement. I recognize Honorable Shifeta, the Minister of
Thank you.
Tourism.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, rise to announce and inform this House on the adjustment of the offset payment for cattle loss under the Human Wildlife Conflict Self-Reliance Scheme. Human wildlife conflict is a very complex matter that needs to be dealt with by all of us as a collective. The wildlife internment that is found in Namibia plays a very important role in terms of tourism attraction to thousands of visitors that contribute to economic development and they create employment in the country. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Tourism is cognizant of numerous challenges that our rural communities and farmers are experiencing as a result of human-wildlife conflict. In this regard, the Ministry continues to invest a lot of resources in community extension work with the aim of imparting knowledge on how to mitigate and deal with cases of human-wildlife conflict and on specific mitigation, preventative, and protective measures to reduce these conflicts. We have the revised national policy on human-wildlife management of 2018 that has been put in place to ensure that we manage human-wildlife conflict in a way that recognizes the rights and the development needs of local communities, recognize the need to promote biodiversity conservation, promote self-reliance, and ensures that decision-making is quick, efficient, and based on the best available information. In order to achieve this, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Tourism has developed appropriate mitigation and monitoring methods as well as capacity of stakeholders to manage human-wildlife conflicts. The mitigation and the monitoring methods or measures are currently being implemented, but this will require more financial resources to be implemented fully. Honorable Deputy Speaker, members of Parliament, it is a government policy to introduce this human-wildlife conflict because our investigation on the compensation scheme implemented elsewhere have proven to be very problematic and open to abuse. There is a need to find other means to offset the losses caused by wildlife and at the same time build the self-reliance of farmers. There are moral obligations on the government to support communities and farmers, especially in those rural communities, and especially those finding themselves in this such a human-wildlife conflict. The government has therefore adopted the policy of human-wildlife conflict self-reliance scheme. This scheme has been created to provide a means to directly offset the losses of farmers caused to livestock, crops, and also to promote the equitable distribution of benefits so that individuals who suffer losses can benefit from wildlife income. And it is also there to meet the moral obligation of government to support family who lost family members to certain species of wild animals under conditions where the affected person could not reasonably have been expected to defend himself or herself or to avoid the incident, and where the family has to incur costs for a funeral and the related costs. The scheme also pays for injuries to people caused by wild animals. Last year, around September, I announced in this August House the adjustment on offset payment under our human-wildlife conflict self-reliance scheme in all categories. But concern of this House was on the offset payment for cattle loss, which was adjusted from 3,000 to 5,000 last year. I'm happy to announce and inform this August House that we have once again adjusted the offset payment for cattle loss under the human-wildlife conflict self-reliance scheme from 5,000 Namibian dollars to 8,000 Namibian dollars. This adjustment will be implemented from the 1st of April 2025. All other payments remain the same as adjusted in September last year. Thank you for your attention.
Order, people. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Committee stage, Public Gatherings and Public Processions Bill.
Does the Honourable Minister of Home Affairs, Migration, Safety and Security move that the Assembly now goes into committee?
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I beg your indulgence to adjourn the item to next week, Wednesday. I so move.
We don't have time to waste here. No time to waste.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the item number 1 on the order paper is postponed to next Wednesday. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Second reading, Ombudsman Bill.
When this assembly adjourned yesterday, the 4th of March, 2025, the question before the assembly was a motion by Honorable Minister of Justice that the bill be read a second time. I now give the floor to Honorable Minister of Justice to reply.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the various members of this August House who have taken the time, particularly those that have taken the time to read the bill and provide some very constructive feedback on the content of the bill, and also candidly expressing their discomfort, dis-ease, or concerns about some of the textual language of the bill. And for those honorable members, I am eternally grateful. I'm also grateful for the members that have taken the floor and made some specific proposals for amendments, some of which I have accepted, and that we will make the necessary arrangements to ensure that those amendments are reflected by the time we get to committee stage. So I want to thank Honorable Toby Opindi, Honorable Hengari, Honorable Dinda, Honorable Elago, Honorable Chivede, Honorable Nekundi, Honorable Twea, Honorable Lucia Votboy, Honorable Maureen Hinda Boinde, for having, and Honorable Natalia Kwaposes, for having taken the floor to express, and Karonda. If I have not mentioned your name, it may have just been an oversight, but before I end, I will certainly pick up on that. So I want to just look at, with your indulgence, the indulgence of the Deputy Speaker, but also of the House, that I will not respond to each and every comment that has been made by the honourable members. I'm quite happy if there is an opportunity to come back, if there is a follow-up question, to respond to some specifics if there is need. But in the interest of time, I'd like to just respond to some highlights and broad issues that have been pointed out by the honourable members. The first one, and an important one, and I have accepted the amendment to that one, is the one around the appointment of the staff members of the Ombudsman. Whilst I don't necessarily agree with the issues that the Ombudsman's office has now become a ministry and so forth, I think there is a fair point being made that the appointment be done in the same way that we are doing it with the judiciary. And I think Honorable Hengari, Honorable Witboy have made very firm proposals about how that should look. And I think it buttresses the point about the independence of the Ombudsman. I want to just indicate at this point that the Ombudsman's office independence is something that the executive supports. And our support is reflected in the fact that we have, despite the fact that it will be, maybe not initially, but as time goes on, it will become a capital-intensive project. We have accepted the responsibility that it's important for the Ombudsman's office to be independent, and part of independence is institutional independence. There is no evidence, even if you look at the comments from the previous Ombudsman and the current one, that there has been any interference by the executive with the mandate of the Ombudsman. There is no such evidence. There is also no evidence, and you will see that from other institutions that are being appointed. Other institutions that are being appointed, you would see that the fact that the president appoints, and the fact that the office of the judicial Deputy Speaker, I understand that the leader of the official opposition and the Prime Minister have missed each other, but I would appreciate that they give me the time to respond to the questions that the honourable members have given me the opportunity to do so. So I think independence is not determined by who appoints you. independence is about your operational mandate. And I don't agree necessarily, and it has not been proven anywhere. All our judges are appointed. The Judicial Service Commission operates independently and has a very clear program of appointment. In fact, when the Ombudsman was appointed, the current one, it was a very public and transparent process. If you look at the manner in which even the current and the previous persons have expressed themselves, there is no indication that there has been interference, with their mandate and their work. The reason why we are taking the Ombudsman's office out of the Ministry of Justice is to provide it with operational independence. And I know that Honorable Chivete has raised this point. The fact that we are taking the Ombudsman out of the Ministry of Justice means that the Ombudsman will have its own accounting officer, it will have its own vote, as part of the appropriation process. So operational independence, it's always, it's signaled by that process. And then you have your own office building and so forth. You may not own it, but even if you're renting it, you're sitting in a separate office, just like the Ombudsman does at the moment. The only thing, actually, that we're taking out of the Ministry of Justice is the fact that the Ombudsman should not be part of our vote, so to speak. So the first point I want to make is that we will align the appointment of the ED and other staff consistent with what is provided for in the Judiciary Act. So there will be consultations with the Ombudsman. I want to also just say, initially, because we are setting up the Ombudsman's office, whilst we don't know the exact cost that is associated with setting it up, but initially, some of the staff members that are already part of the Ombudsman's office will be part of setting up that office. We may even have to consider seconding some of the staff members from the public service. The second issue that has been raised, and I think an important point that has been made, is around foreign funding. And I think maybe part of the problem is the way in which the language is formulated. And I think if it requires that, we are happy to look at the language to rephrase it. But the fact is, and this is a similar language as that which is provided for in the Judiciary Act, and I think many other pieces of legislation. But we all know that government institutions, including ministries, do get financial support in the form of either money or technical support from various international organizations, institutions, embassies, and so forth. The safeguard, which is also provided for in the text of this particular bill, is that it would happen with a consultation. In the case of the Judiciary Act, it's consultation with the Chief Justice and the Minister of Finance. There is no money that flows into the coffers of our country unless it's a private entity. If you're a public institution, without the approval and the checks and balances that comes from the Minister of Finance, for instance, because the Minister of Finance is responsible for the National Treasury. So what we are willing to do is to maybe have a look at the Judiciary Act, and I had a look at the Judiciary Act again, and the same language exists there, but maybe that last portion is something that one can look at. There's also been, and the third point is, there's been a lot of comments made about the independence of the Judicial Service Commission and why the Judicial Service Commission either operates the way it does. There's been some proposals from Honorable Nekundi about adding members of the Assembly or members of Parliament as part of that body. I think the Judicial Service Commission has its own enabling statute. It is responsible for a lot of the legal appointments, and I think, and I know that Honorable Nekundi said it does not have to be part of this amendment, but certainly something that we should consider, and I think that conversation should be taken to the Judicial Service Commission. I know that they have taken note of that particular proposition to say that we need to add more people, more voices, important voices such as the members of parliament or the legislature to the work of the Judicial Service Commission. But just to say that the Ombudsman is pegged at a very, very high level, in the same way that judges are done. And the Constitution of Namibia, under Article 89, actually says that the Judicial Service Commission must make a recommendation to the President for the appointment of the Ombudsman. So it's a constitutional imperative, the manner in which the Ombudsman is appointed. In particular, Article 89 provides that the Ombudsman shall either be a judge of Namibia, it doesn't mean a sitting judge, or a person possessing the legal qualifications which would entitle him or her to practice in all courts of Namibia. And I think everyone in this House understands why that is important. The Ombudsman should be able to go to court if that is required of them. So if one looks at even the draft regulations of the Judicial Service Commission, what they want to achieve with that is to provide for a diverse, participatory and pluralistic recruitment committee who will set the selection criteria and conduct the selection process and then make recommendations to the Judicial Service Commission. So the process, I think, that Honorable Dinda was referring to, and I think even Honorable Hengari, is that if we want to protect the integrity of the person that gets appointed to become Ombudsman, in the same way that we'd want to protect them as judges and other institutions, particularly Chapter 10 institutions, then there is a pre-selection process that also involves people of a certain caliber, and then that group will then make a recommendation to the Judicial Service Commission, which also is quite representative. You know, it includes members of the independent legal profession, both the Namibian Lawyers Association, the Law Society of Namibia, and of course, it also includes the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the Attorney General. These are all individuals that carry a certain mandate in the national body politic of our society, and therefore we should be able to trust the integrity of the group that makes that recommendation to the Judicial Service Commission. The Judicial Service Commission then goes through a process, the same way that we've seen. It was a public process, and only then do they recommend to the President. We have not had any incidents where, and I know, for example, people express themselves on social media and so forth, but once that recommendation is made by the Judicial Service Commission, we have not seen incidents where the President does not accept that appointment. So that should allow us some comfort, I think, about the integrity of the process, and also the fact that the President appoints. We have not seen any interference. Does not mean that the institution that the President appoints is not independent. It's any of the suggestions that have been made yesterday about the independence and the concerns that the honourable members have, while I respect them, I think were not borne out by any evidence, factually or otherwise, that suggests that the appointment process leaves much to be desired. Now, we also know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the country, and I will not be much longer. I have two more points that I want to make. And it's the supreme law of the country, and I think, while I think the proposal about changing the name Ombudsman has been scouted previously, and I think, and we understand the context, you know, from a what would otherwise be a neutral language to be gender sensitive and so forth. the Ombudsman is a constitutional imperative. And I think, and I'm not suggesting in any way that we can't amend the Constitution at the appropriate time. It need not be now. At the appropriate time, make the amendment if the Namibian society and its legislative leadership thinks that that would be the way to go. But for now, we are not, comfortable to accept that kind of major change, because we must remember this has been a name that many people are familiar with. Changing a name is not just something that we do overnight. I think we must prepare our society to know that we are now calling the Ombudsman a public protector. We all know that the Ombudsman was, from where it comes, it was intended to be a public protector. In fact, what we understood, the historical meaning is exactly that. And so it was not intended to offend men, promote men and offend women. That was not the intention of that language. It was really an official name that was used, a person appointed to investigate citizens' complaints against public institutions. That was the intent with the name Ombudsman. Internationally, there's even an institution called the International Ombudsman's Institute. So, for us to change that name, I think we require a little bit more time to think through and prepare the Namibian society that we want to change, not just because we think it's about whether or not it's gender neutral. There is a bigger connotation with the Ombudsman. So we would be a little bit more comfortable that process of changing the name Ombudsman to something else is traversed a little bit more over time. And then when we are ready to change our constitution and all of that, we can undertake that conversation. At the moment, I don't think it has major harm to continue with that name. Then the issue, I think Honorable Toby raised that issue as he was supporting the bill. It was the question about whether or not the Ombudsman should also be responsible for investigating private individuals. Now, I think there are various, the Ombudsman is not the only one that undertakes public investigations. There are a number of them, including the Anti-Corruption Commission. But there is already provision both in the Constitution and also in the bill and in the current Act, where there is violation of human rights and environmental issues, the Ombudsman, even if it's a private company, would actually get involved. So there is a limit. There is a portion where the Ombudsman is already investigating private institutions and individuals where it involves violation of human rights and also violation of environmental concerns. You remember, I believe it was last year where the Ombudsman had gotten involved with the sand mining problem with a private institution. So there is some parts where the Ombudsman can get involved, but I think the primary, when it comes to public institutions and maladministration and so forth, I think the Ombudsman's mandate should be that, because I think there's a limit to even what an institution, even if we think it's manna from heaven, what an institution of that nature can do. On the issue of the Deputy Ombudsman, so the current, what we've done is just to separate positions because we wanted to allocate responsibilities. You would see, for example, in the bill, the Deputy Ombudsman would actually be responsible for, to be the Children's Ombudsman, which is provided for under Section 25 of the Child Care and Protection Act. And you can just imagine the kinds of challenges that we have around children, for example, and the kind of protection that our children need, even just having one person responsible at that level for children's protection and promotion of children's rights is not enough. So the intention really is to provide sufficient high-level bodies, if you'd like, to provide the kind of protection that is needed. So I think the qualification that is expected of a deputy ombudsman is more or less the same as that of the ombudsman. It's really just to ensure that in the event that the ombudsman is unable, for whatever reason, to undertake his or her responsibilities, the deputy ombudsman is on hand to undertake that. The other question on the assets, I think the question around the assets, again, Honorable Hinda Mbwende, the idea was really to make sure that we don't burden, the Ombudsman's office with challenges around particularly infrastructure. But I have taken the point that what we could do is to have a look at, and we had a look at the Judiciary Act. Now, the Judiciary Act will be amended. That specific provision, Section 9, that deals with infrastructure and capital projects. Initially, why we had that provision in there, and I'll explain that hopefully next week when I bring that short amendment, is that initially what we wanted to achieve is to transition the judiciary to independence. And we knew that they didn't have the human resource and other capacities to set themselves up quickly. The reason why we are now amending and completely handing back that mandate of managing infrastructure to the judiciary is because we thought it is time. They have now, they are at a place where they can manage their own capital projects. So even with the Ombudsman is currently renting most of its buildings, for instance, and initially much of it will be managed and or given to the Ombudsman's office through the public institutions or infrastructure that exist. For instance, currently the Ombudsman has only 2 offices that were constructed by the Ministry of Justice, namely the Keetmanshoop and Ongwediva offices. The rest of the offices are rented, except the office in Otubarango that belongs to the Ministry of Works. So we will not know the estimated cost, but the Finance Directorate may share accurate information on this point. Because I remember we had a discussion on this point, and they mentioned that it will cost, and I know I'm raising this point only because there were some concerns about what are the cost implications, but the indication we have is it's about 20 million. I think I've also expressed that and shared with the Assembly when the question around the Ombudsman was raised with me some time ago last year. So to set up the office over the next 2-3 years, really a lot of the support will come from the public service, but I think we will align ourselves in terms of appointments and so forth with what the Ombudsman's, with what we have available, and also with the Judiciary Act and so on. So those are the broad things I wanted to answer, but also just to make sure that I have not left out anyone. Annual reports, we have also accepted, and I think it was Honorable Dinda and Honorable Vetboy that made the proposal, why do we just table the annual reports? Why don't we have the provision say that it will be tabled and discussed? And we didn't have any problem with that. Then the issue about visitor and inhabitant, you'd imagine that the Ombudsman is at the same level as the Namibian police, the courts. When somebody is in our jurisdiction, when somebody is in our territory, they are subject to the same rules as everybody else. And the Ombudsman, for example, if somebody claims that they have been abused or their rights have been violated, the Ombudsman should not be restricted to, for example, provide some form of support and or protection to that individual until their country, where they're coming from, is able to take over. The same way that the police, if somebody is being beaten in the streets, the police will not say, no, this person is coming from X country and therefore we don't have a mandate to protect them. I think that is the context within which the Ombudsman operates. Witness fees, Honorable Dienda, that is provided for under the High Court tariffs. You would imagine that the witness fees, there's a tariff that is provided for in the High Court rules, and you would see that the bill actually makes reference to the High Court rules. And those tariffs, I think they are probably under review now because there's been some complaints, but they're supposed to cover the disbursements or reimburse the individual that has been subpoenaed by the Ombudsman for the cost that they have otherwise incurred in either coming to out of town and or, particularly if you're a witness and you've incurred cost and you're not a public servant or you don't benefit from the state system, you know, they would use the tariffs that exist under the High Court rules to make that payment. You normally, in the laws, we don't define both law and witness fees. I know Honorable Dienda had indicated that, you know, Namibian law is not defined. Law is a very, very difficult concept to define. But what we have always referred to is the sources of law. Where do we get our authority for the law from? We get it from the supreme law, which is our constitution, the common law, your statutory law, in other words, all the legislation that is passed by the National Assembly, customary law. Those are all the sources of law that we normally, but it would not be something that we define in a law. I've seen also that thank you. The fact that I think honourable members have expressed themselves using various examples, and I think the only thing I can say is that firstly, this bill was certified by the Attorney General, who's responsible for ensuring that every legislation that we passed is constitutional, its letter and spirit is consistent with the provisions of the Namibian Constitution and those international instruments that Namibia has ratified. Now, you would see that the language that is used in the Ombudsman legislation references the Namibian Constitution. And Article 44, unlike what was being interpreted here, I'm afraid was not correct. Article 44 actually says, 144 of the Namibian Constitution says, any law that Namibia has ratified becomes part of Namibian law. If Namibia has any concerns about the application of any international instruments within its, corpus, legal corpus, then Namibia should take the steps to deal with that international law. So I will not belabor that point because I think the language in the law is the Namibian language. It's nothing else. I did not want to deal with any issues around whether or not this is being bulldozed and so forth. I think those are expressions that people are entitled to. Otherwise, I think I have covered most of the issues that have been raised. If there is any honourable member that thinks I have not responded to any specific aspects that they've raised with us, with me, I'm happy to listen to the follow-up question and respond. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, follow-up comment and questions. Nambul Nekundi.
Thank you very much. Media, you cannot copy and make it binding here without this House having ratified it so that it is domesticated. I just needed to clarify that one. There's no misrepresentation in terms of 144. Finally, the issue of the grant, my brother and comrade here has clarified. Suppose this House give a budget which is public appropriation funds to the office of the Ombudsman. Now there we are saying the way it was phrased, which I hope it will really be looked at the way it was phrased. Somebody outside the individual, the country, gives money to that office. And say, no, Namibia, you have it wrong. To us, this is how we define human rights. And for that reason, here is $1 billion to administer that. Their definition of human rights is completely different from Namibia. No. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I'm talking about the grant.
Honorable Minister of Tourism, Honorable Shifeda, we are about to go for voting. And we are running out of, as they come, we are now 49. We are now 49. There were minister and deputy minister who left. Let me assist the chief whip. Please don't go. Because we are about to don't go. When you go, you disrupt the quorum.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The danger there is, it is our responsibility to protect our own citizens, the dignity through the human rights. This is why we give them public funds to administer that. I do not think, my gut feeling tells me, to subject the protection of our own citizens' human rights by anybody else because they have got money. I don't think that it is correct. This is why it is a constitutional body, and therefore we should do everything we can to protect the rights of our citizens. That particular provision needs to be rephrased differently. But as a legislator, I feel I'm very uncomfortable that our human rights, constitutional responsibility of this august House representatives to subject the protection of our citizens into the hands of somebody else. I submit.
What are we going to vote on?
I don't know what is going to make sure.
Yeah, what I mean.
Okay, let's vote. On what?
Yeah, for adoption only. Yeah, just yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Deputy Speaker.
Deputy Speaker, yeah. Deputy Speaker. I wanted just to understand from the Minister of Justice, because yesterday, if I followed correctly,
yeah, I recognize Honorable Minister of Justice.
Just to be absolutely clear, I was replying, so anybody can raise questions now. I thought it was only the people who had asked questions or asking follow-up questions. Just to be clear, is it anybody that can now ask me questions?
I should think I put emphasis on the follow-up questions. They should put questions. Yeah?
Yes. No, I thought the follow-up was on, because I think the people who, the honourable members who asked me questions, I think they have a right to.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Those members who have asked questions, they are the right people who must follow up.
Yes.
Not people who never say anything. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the correction. Now, finally, Honourable Minister, you can now comment.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want to respond to Honorable Hengari first. Just to say that I think if the Honorable Member has perhaps an additional language that the Honorable Member thinks would strengthen that provision that deals with the investigative powers of the Ombudsman, and also the Ombudsman's ability to go to court if, for instance, a particular matter has not been resolved between the Ombudsman and those that are being accused of misconduct. I think the Ombudsman has sufficient powers within the confines of the provisions of this bill and the current law, but also the Constitution, to take any step that the Ombudsman thinks would bring resolution to that particular problem. But I think if the language is not sufficient, we would be willing to look at an amendment that would strengthen that language. Now, what Honorable Nekundi and what Honorable Toya are asking me to do is something that I think this Honorable House should decide. This Honorable House must do two things. There are laws that have passed through this House that has the exact same language, the Judiciary Act being an example of it, and the Ombudsman is at that level too, in terms of its independence, in terms of what it is expected to do in protecting and promoting a mandate. We seem to have a very different understanding of what human rights are. And I don't want to go into the details of people's individual interpretations, guided by their own prejudices, to say what human rights are. But what I can say is, regardless of what our interpretations are, all of us in this country are, firstly, we're human because we exist as human beings. You know, it doesn't matter whether we are, what our race are, what our choices in life is, we're human beings. And then all of us are Namibians. So if this August House is talking about protection of people's rights, it means all Namibians, regardless of where they find themselves. And I really don't want to go into that homosexual debate. I am not interested in that debate because I think it dilutes the essence and the importance of what this House is about when we are so focused on something that has to do with people's private lives. So, Honorable Nekundi, if the question is, and I don't know, I assume that the Ombudsman is vetted and that maybe the judges are vetted. That information I don't have. But I assume that it does because all public institutions, all of us are vetted. And it's actually quite disturbing what Honorable Nekundi suggests, because what he's suggesting is that we must vet people to exclude them, you know, and I don't think that's the purpose of vetting. For instance, I think Mr. Honorable Nekundi may have a different understanding of what is the intention of vetting than I do, for instance. But that's maybe a debate for me and him on another day. The interpretation that has been accorded by Honorable Toya about Article 144, I have written an extensive article, and you may wish to read that article to understand the context of how international law applies in domestic setups. And I really do suggest that you do, because it may help with some understanding of the meaning of some of these things. If we think as a country, there are laws, international laws that we have ratified post-1990. Namibia has ratified a plethora of international instruments, and we continue to ratify international instruments, for instance. But if Namibia thinks, because I can only speak about us as a country, because we're a collective, then we should then instruct the institutions that are responsible for investigating and assessing whether or not the international instruments that we've ratified, that we've acceded to, for instance, no longer serve us. What are the steps that we need to take to get out of that? That is not an issue for the Ombudsman's bill. That's a bigger issue. It requires us to have a bigger conversation about what do we do now that Namibia has a particular policy on particular issues. I don't think the Ombudsman's bill is intended, because what we are doing is we are actually saying we don't trust anyone outside ourselves. We don't trust that, for example, the Minister of Finance and the Chief Justice and the Ombudsman will take decisions that are good for the country. I think that's unfortunate, that we have that kind of, in a way, mistrust of our own institutions. That's what this is coming to. So I think that kind of language that we use to denigrate other Namibians, firstly, and secondly, to not trust important institutions that we ourselves have put in place because we believe it's the right thing to do. And that we don't trust people unless we are ourselves in it. I think that is not okay. So,
no, sorry, Honorable Nekundi, if there are some... the presiding
it's a right of reply. It's a right of reply.
Yeah, it is your right. Yeah, let her finish. She's in the middle of responding and you stand up. You have the floor.
So to conclude, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are here because we know that this law can only pass if this August House agrees to it. If there are concerns, which I have taken on board, about the language that is being used, that we have considered. But to go outside the scope of what is intended with the Ombudsman bill and the spirit of that bill, and to raise other issues that I think that are not related to what we want to achieve with this bill, I am not comfortable with that. That is what I'm expressing. And that's why I'm suggesting the issue around us having a look at post Mr. Trump's decisions around, for example, US AID. How is that something that I must now respond to and answer to? How am I answering to what Mr. Trump has said in his own country? The decisions that he has taken in his own country, I must now be subjected to that decision in making a determination for what is happening in our country. As Namibians, we must have our honest conversations, and we must have them in a dignified manner so that no Namibian should feel that... So what I'm saying, you can't do that. Foreign funding is money from other countries. And what I was saying that the honorable members don't want to accept is what I was saying is we have passed laws in this parliament. This parliament has passed laws with similar language. This parliament has passed similar language. So what we should be saying, instead of making it seem like we brought a bill here because we want to promote a certain agenda, I think that is not okay. That is not acceptable. That is the point I'm making, is that it is not about the Ombudsman bill. Let's have a holistic conversation. If we have difficulties about about foreign funding. Let's have a bigger conversation about that. So I want to sit down, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and I really need protection because I certainly will not allow any more conversations in the Ombudsman bill about homosexuality because I don't think that is the intent of this bill.
Yours was not answered, eh?
Yeah, I just want to say something, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Before you allow us to, at what point do we wait for the amendments?
Yeah, it's still coming.
Okay, thank you.
It's still coming. They're adjourning the committee stage. Anyone who have got serious issues, let's wait for the committee stage. I now put the question that the bill be read a second time. Any objection? Then agreed to. The Secretary will read the bill for a second time.
Second reading, Ombudsman Bill.
Thank you. Can we go for tea break? We will come back at what time now? Can somebody assist me? Quarter to 5. We are lawmaker. We are obliged to come back as we are. Each and every person here is sent by his or her political party. Quarter to 5. You must come back, all of you. You must come back.
Yeah. Thank you for coming back at least. I understand the other people are having a, but we have a working quorum. We can proceed. Yeah. The secretary will now read the third order of the day.
Yes.
Consideration of committee report on the petition by Lisha Empowerment and Development Organization requesting the Assembly to address the urgent need for reviving the market for livestock in Namibia's northern communal areas.
Does Honorable Ifete move that the committee report on the petition be considered?
I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Who second? Any objection? Then agree to? You have the floor, Honorable Ifete.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, I rise to present the report of the Standing Committee on Economics and Public Administration following an investigation into a petition submitted by Lisha Empowerment and Development Organization. The petition highlights urgent concern regarding the livestock market in Namibia northern communal areas. Key issues raised include revitalizing the livestock market in the northern communal area to ensure fair access to market and economic sustainability. Dilapidated quarantine facility, particularly farms on Tambo, Maui, which has been in an operation for over a decade. A proposal to lease the farm to private service providers was deemed unappropriate by the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform. Lack of effective abattoirs to maintain a continuous and compliant meat value chain. Absence of structure program to enhance livestock quality before slaughter, leading to substandard meat product and unsustainable market. The committee undertook public consultation and oversight visit across several regions, including Kunene, Umsati, Oshana, Wangwena, Zambezi, Kavango East, and Kavango West. As we all know, livestock farming in northern communal areas is of a national importance and a matter of public interest. It plays a crucial role in the livelihood of thousands of farmers and contributes significantly to the country's agricultural economy. This report, based on extensive public consultations, hearing, and oversight visit, presented key findings and observations on the challenges affecting the livestock sectors in the northern communal areas. It highlights critical issues which require urgent intervention to ensure a sustainable and competitive livestock industry, such as the NCA, which stands for Northern Communal Area, house approximately 2.5 million cattle, yet market access remains restricted due to the veterinary cordon fence. Infrastructure's mismanagement, including poorly maintained quarantine farms, abattoirs, and auctioneer pens, has significantly hindered livestock market accessibility. Persistent challenges include limited access to profitable market and fair pricing structures, lack of feedlot and fodder support for small-scale farmers, inadequate budget for quarantine camps and abattoirs, delay in vaccine distribution by the Directorate of Veterinary Service, mismanagement and poor accountability at key government farms, including Mangeti Farms, Kavango Cattle Range. The committee has put forward 17 recommendations addressing those systematical challenges urging action from relevant ministries, office and agency. Regarding the proposed leasing of farm Omtambo Mawe, the ministry maintained that it is a government asset essential for animal disease control, and past experience with private sector's involvement have proven ineffective. The committee therefore called for further review by the ministry. On the veterinary condom fence, farmers criticized the policy and the act regulating the uses of condom fence by saying it needed to be reviewed as it was designed to favor the minority group at the expense of the majority of Namibians in the name of the foot and mouth disease. Therefore, one of the recommendations on the above matter is that the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform and all relevant OMAs should formulate their policies, framework, and amend their current acts to allow farmers in northern communal areas to have access for marketing their livestock south of the veterinary condom fence. The veterinary condom fence should only be used to control outbreak disease and not to prohibit citizens from moving their animal outside the veterinary condom fence or any other product that are prohibited. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I submit this report for consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any discussions? I recognize Honorable Benani.
I give it.
The members of the committee for a job well done. We concur with the report and its recommendations, and just to ask for its speedy implementation. As it is, the situation currently, especially in the northern parts of the country, is that there was a very strong, lucrative, small stock market of goats. Goats from the north, the Pohos, Kunene, that can be sold to the lucrative market of KwaZulu-Natal during halal and the Ramadan seasons in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. But as we are speaking, for a number of years, those people in the northern regions of the country are not fetching any good prices from their animals because the quarantines, the animals must go through quarantines to be cleared for them to be sold. So that market has died. In an environment where a farmer was fetching 2,000 for a goat, a big goat, they are currently fetching 600, 700, 800 because of a lack of access to markets, because our facilities that should facilitate the screening process are not intact. So I really stand in admiration of what you have done as a committee. We support it, and we hope that the Ministry of Agriculture would really pull up its socks, because we are denying our people. Sometimes our people are not poor. We are making them poor. They have the means, they have the stock, they have the cattle, but we cannot allow them to trade. And as we are talking about Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and our own country cannot trade with itself, how are we going to achieve those big dreams that we have? So I just rise to say we support you, we support that the committee's report must be taken seriously, and let's get to work and serve our people to the best of our ability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further discussions? I recognize Honorable Maureen.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I would like to ask for the indictments of the House to postpone it to Tuesday, because tomorrow is questions.
Okay. Tuesday.
on agriculture.
Okay. This note disturbed me. Yeah? You ask for postponement up to, I don't know where it's come from even. Just a moment, my sister. Yeah. I'll give you a floor to talk, to tell them. Yes, please.
No, Honorable Deputy Speaker, no, I just asked for the indulgence if we can postpone it for Tuesday.
Okay. The discussion on this report of the committee is postponed to next Tuesday. The Secretary will read the fourth order of the day.
Consideration of committee report on the review of the audited report of the Namibia Broadcasting Corporation for the years ended 31st March 2017-2018.
Honorable Murora. Does Honorable Murora move?
There's no tariff.
Murora is not here. Anyone on behalf of no one? It will come back either tomorrow or Monday, because Monday we are likely to have. It will be postponed to next week. The Secretary will read the fifth order of the day.
Consideration of committee report on the motion requesting the Assembly to discuss social protection of informal traders.
That is the 15th. Does Honorable Ifete move that the committee report to be considered? You move, okay.
I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, who's second? Any objection? Agree to? Honorable Ifete, you have now the floor.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, I rise again to present the report of our Committee for Economics and Public Administration on the motion tabled by Honorable Agnes Pingana Kafula, which called for the National Assembly to deliberate on social protection for informal traders. The motion called on the National Assembly to investigate and recommend a measure to support informal traders by facilitating their transaction to the formal economy, in line with in the National Labour Organization recommendation R204 of 2015. It seeks to address working conditions, social protection, and security for street vendors, domestic workers, and other informal sectors, participants. Additionally, it advocates for the establishment of social insurance programs and improved infrastructures such as designated trading space, water, and sanitation facility. From the public hearing and stakeholder submission, the committee found that the informal sectors face significant challenges due to the absence of formal policy and legal framework, limiting traders' ability to operate securely and sustainable. Many lack access to training, infrastructure, financial support, and market, while also experiencing poor working conditions, job insecurity, and unfair wages. Additionally, complex regulations and weak bargaining power make it difficult for them to compete fairly. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, to foster economic inclusivity and sustainability, the committee urged enhanced legal and policy framework to regulate and protect informal traders. Provisions of financial, technical, and infrastructure support to boost productivity and market access. Strengthen social protection mechanism, including social insurance and security benefit. The informal economy is a vital part of Namibia's economic landscape, yet it remains largely unregulated and unsupported. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the committee submit those recommendations for approval and implementation by the relevant ministry, particularly the Ministry of Labour, Industrialization and Employment Creation, and the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. I so submit, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Any discussions? I recognize Honorable Hengari.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think it's a very important agenda item, very important report, and I want to support it by saying I think there ought to be a conversation in as far as what the relationship ought to be between unions, the ministry, as well as, yes, that's why I'm supporting it. I know it's our report. The union, labor unions, and as well as what the role of parliamentary committees to that extent entails. I think, I don't know how far the report in as far as finding out what each of those institutions, what their roles would be in a situation where we find ourselves in this country, where we have informal traders that we feel are not protected, whose rights we feel are not represented, and do not have the platforms to express those issues that face them each and every day. So I think, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I would like to support this particular report with a few amendments, but I'll consult with the chair of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Nekundi.
Thank you very much, Comrade Deputy Speaker, Honorable Risete, for the table, as you table it on behalf of the committee. Indeed, very, very important report. I just hope also my motion on the banks will also come back. But I don't see it on this 21 list, so, and we are closing very soon. Is there any? Okay, very good. Comrade Deputy Speaker, I'm just trying to find a space within the report, whether you've done that or not, the issue of how the informal traders are being traded under the current operations. You find a person who is trading informally, not stealing, not doing anything really that is harming society. At most, they do that to take care of, to put bread on the table of families, sending their children to schools and so forth. But you find these people sometimes at the receiving end of the security apparatus. There are things being kicked around. These people are crying to us to find solutions. I just want to check whether that component was also being investigated and how they could be protected as a suggestion to those that are entrusted for the law and order in the country. I'm not saying there must be lawlessness, but there must also be an understanding how there must be engagement between the informal traders and the maintenance of law and order. Well, it really disturbs some of us knowing that if my mother had not done any informal trading, I would possibly not be able to speak English as I speak today. I could possibly not have the masters I'm having today. And many of us have went through the same way. I think it's very much fundamental that as we are engaging in this discussion in view of your very important report, that component is also somehow highlighted in moving forward in order to also to protect their trading until the formalization is being realized. I think it's very much important. However, I really support such important report, Deputy Speaker, Community. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Emma Theophil, Honorable, Mareka, Honorable Mareka, sorry. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Exactly like the previous speakers have said, it's a very, very important topic. Informal traders are the very people that are supposed to carry the economy of this country. But ourselves, not Parliament, but the institutions that must protect these people, are the ones that are really ill-treating them. There are structures being put up in designated areas, maybe also without proper planning. And then in some localities, you notice that these structures are really not in use. Now, it will also not help. I hope the committee has also looked at the part of the very institutions that are responsible over the informal traders. And those are the local authorities. That one read whether Runtu, North, Windhoek, that these people are being chased around with the police. And some of their makeshift structures to protect them against the rain and the sun being demolished or destroyed. Now, according to my understanding, are these people also following where they can make ends meet, where the market is? So, local authorities must also be consulted so that they are also part and parcel of what we are going to discuss and decide on that report. Because they are the ones that are responsible over the well-being and the placement of the informal traders. The other one is maybe not part of this, but let me mention it. Our Namibians are going outside the country, for an example, China, and they are buying their goods there to come and sell. And then our very same number are chasing these people around, but they are not doing anything to the Chinese corner shops that are selling the same products. So I think, I hope that is also part of this report, or should also be highlighted, and I thank you and I support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kapofi.
Well, Deputy Speaker, thank you. As I stand, I want to support the report. I just want to raise a very small issue as far as informal traders are concerned. And it's the issue about hygiene. You find that quite a number of them are doing their business close to the roads, and they are selling food. And I believe our health authorities must look at this. The amount of cars that passes around near this food stuff the emissions that comes from these cars is very serious. If you just go there and put up an instrument to find out how much of that carbon dioxide goes into this food, it's a lot. And it will have an indirect bearing on the health of the consumers. I know local authorities try to create facilities a little bit far from the highways, but people come back. I think they are coming back to catch the potential buyers, but without them not knowing what harm it will make, especially when they sell food stuff that people buy and consume immediately. And you look at the amount of cars that are standing there, all those cars that are just passing. Some cars don't stand, some are passing, and the emissions thereof. So I think it's an important aspect that we need to look at throughout our country, because people come closer to the road. If they are selling other hard stuff like seeds and some of these things, may not necessarily be a big problem. But food stuff is something that the authorities there should look into and protect the general public from harmful effects of emissions from cars. With that, I support the
Thank you. Honorable Amte.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. My intervention is short. First of all is to appreciate and congratulate the Committee on Economics for having come up with this very important report. My intervention would rather be, because when I was listening to the mover, he mentioned the institutions that in the view of the committee are critical to the interventions needed for street vendors to function effectively and efficiently. And then the institutions mentioned the Ministry of Labor and that of industrialization. But I think it's very important to have a coordinated policy intervention and consultation. Policy intervention that is well coordinated between these ministries. That is labor, industrialization, Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, as well as finance. Because the commodities that these people are trading in differ from vendor to vendor. Some of them are imported, as was said by one of the previous speakers, and then they need certain protection, or perhaps smoothness of the movement of goods between borders, and that can be better facilitated by, for instance, interventions of the Ministry of Finance. And that's why I feel that perhaps we can also incorporate those ministries into the report so that they coordinate these efforts. Now, when it comes to the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, I think it's very, very important, because in the design and planning of towns specifically, going forward, I think it's very important that they already take into consideration the placing of street vendors, because the problem now is mostly experienced because during the planning and designing of certain localities by municipalities or local authorities, the aspect of street vendors might have been left out, making the vendors trying to survive under those circumstances, therefore finding themselves wherever they find a spot which might not be regulated for that specific intervention. So I believe urban and rural development must also bring its part to this coordinated policy so that it can inform the local authorities when they plan and design localities to include spaces and the safety nets, and even respond to health conditions of street vendors and buyers too. So these are my interventions, and with this really I want to support the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Theophilus Emma.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I join other honorable members in support of the report tabled by Honorable Ithete, Chairperson of the Economics Committee, and thank the mover, Honorable Agnes Kafula, for this very important motion, which required the committee really to do an investigation into the social protections of our informal traders. I say our informal traders because many of us depend on them. We've depended on them throughout our lives. We depend on them now, and we appreciate sometimes the gap they feel away from formal trading as an economic activity. First, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want to speak about the nuanced realities of informal traders. I think nobody necessarily goes into a profession to say, I'm going to be an informal trader. And I speak about the nuances of it because there are some individuals who are informal traders for life. Others do it for a short period of time, especially in the realities of our country where we have a skill set deficit in some areas where people decide to say, okay, I don't have particular skills, I don't have particular education, I'll go into informal trading. And it, of course, varies from street vendors to people who sell clothes to all kinds of means for one to make a living. Then you find those who are graduates, who are educated, who are in between jobs or who have not yet found a job, and then become an informal trader to be able to gain something while they are trying to find a better opportunity. So it's very nuanced and applies to literally almost every Namibian in that regard. So secondly, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want to link this to saying, because of these nuanced realities of informal traders, one just doesn't jump from being an informal trader today to then a formal trader tomorrow. There seems to be a buffer zone in between moving from an informal trader to a formal trader. And examples are that once you're an informal trader, there's no regard for you to have a business account, for example, which means you have no registered business, for example, whether a company or a CC. You are simply a self-employed person who is trading informally. But it's very difficult to then jump completely from somebody who trades informally to then jump directly to a formal trader where one has a registered business, a business account, you are able to get money into a business account and separate your personal finances from that of your business. So I think there needs to be a buffer zone, a gap that needs to be filled between transitioning from an informal trader to a formal trader. And I think this is where the social protections that Honorable Kafula was asking in her motion, and hopefully the committee has considered in their report, on how we can allow people to transition gracefully from informal trading to formal. Because the reality is that there are people who have not been able to transition at all. They continue to be informal traders, and I don't think that's where we want our citizens to be informal traders for life. We want them somewhere, somehow, to be on their way to transitioning to formal trading, even if many of them do not make it fully to formal trading. And this begs the question in my mind around social protections linked to Social Security Commission and in particular the Ministry of Labor. And I'm very happy the committee has identified the Ministry of Labor as an institution to collaborate with and look at solutions for social protection for informal traders. I know the Social Security Commission has done tremendous work to be inclusive of employees who are domestic workers, because they actually have an employer, which is the person hiring them to do the domestic work. Farmers who work in the agricultural sector hire workers to help them on the farm, and there's actually some level of protection in terms of Social Security Commission and its legislative abilities that we've given them under the Social Security Act to support farmers or people who work in the agricultural sector specifically, and a few others that are able to have these social protections. So I'm wondering about how Social Security, without looking at a completely new policy, but looking at existing policies under the Social Security Commission, to try to rope in protections for informal traders, the social protections that the Honorable Kafula is asking for in her motion. And I think that would make it much easier for us to afford those who then will be transitioning. Because I can only imagine, as an informal trader, the moment you don't show up at the side of the road to trade whatever you're offering to the public, you are sick or your child needs to go to the hospital or you need to go to a funeral of a close family member, it means you are unable to put money on the table. You can't actually get money that day because, unfortunately, a calamity has found you, and therefore you have lost the income you're supposed to support not only yourself, but also your family. But imagine the small amount of money we give Social Security every month. I believe that amount of money is enough for informal traders to be able to contribute to Social Security. And in the event that female informal traders fall pregnant, they're able to get some level of money, even if it's not calculated as we calculate it in our formal economy in terms of the salaries we receive and the benefits we receive. But I'm sure that nominal amount of money that we offer to Social Security as employed persons, people that have a pay slip, I believe many of the informal traders are able to afford it. And I'm talking about informal traders, including taxi drivers, who get, cash on hand almost on a daily basis. So I think this is very much possible as a policy consideration under the Labour Ministry. And of course, hopefully this report has expounded on some of these issues to include the Social Security Commission as a way to close that gap and create this buffer zone between transitioning from an informal trader to a formal trader. I so submit, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Honorable Hengari.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I had forgotten to mention a group of, and perhaps a section of our society that falls under this informal traders that the motion speaks about, and that is the young people that we spoke about last year as well in this House, who we call the Order With Me, or who run Order With Me businesses. I remember, for instance, last year, I had a conversation with the Honorable Shimi sitting here. I hope he's listening also. And I remember that the budget theme of last year was named after the youth and prioritizing the youth and putting young people at the center of, as we consider the appropriation bill, that we prioritize also where these young people can be found. I wanted to find out from the chairperson of this committee whether the Minister of Finance was consulted on this particular motion, and with regards to how we can lessen the pressure of these informal traders also, because they have a number of issues which range from both domestic tax and also international tax that they have to pay on goods that they bring in for informal trading. I just wanted to submit that with your permission, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Kafula.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I rise with a smiling face today to thank this is behind me. There's always a smile, but for today is more special. To thank the Standing Committee on Economics and Public Administration for attending to this very important motion to make sure that he saw the light in the corridors of this institution. I'm saying so because I tabled this motion in 2019, and it disappeared somewhere for whatever reason is known only to those who were handling it. Then I thought I would not let it go because it's very important, addressing the issues of our informal traders that has been operating in harsh conditions in respect of being chased away from where they are operating from, in respect of their commodities being confiscated, and at the end of the day, they lose out to bring bread on their family's table. So therefore, we are now talking of 8 years down the line. If we could have perhaps attended to this issue in 2019, we could have by now reached somewhere where we can say at least we have addressed the concern or the problems of our respected informal traders. So this report consists of 22 pages, which is an indication that is very, very important, and it also indicated that a number of entities and institutions were consulted during the public hearings. And these meetings took place countrywide. And there is also a list of the institutions that had been consulted, and I'm sure that the recommendations that the committee came up with emanated from those fruitful discussions during consultations. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I hope that this report and the recommendations will be implemented effectively to address the concerns and the problems that has been faced by our people out there. Therefore, I'm glad that the report came this week, and we have only few days to conclude our 7th session. And since I'm living with a happy heart that I will not be sitting here the next session, I'm really happy that we have concluded this report, this motion in the form of a report. And those recommendations, I see there is a number of recommendations. Therefore, let us, by all means, try, please, I'm begging of you, to make sure that we have implemented those recommendations, just to put a smile also not only to me, but to our public out there. I thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. In supporting this report and taking note of what my sister, Honorable Kafula there, has said, I just want to emphasize that in terms of our rules and orders, when resolutions are adopted by Parliament, they are to be notified to OMAS officially from the front desk. And in terms of those same rules, the committees are also expected to follow up to establish the progress that is made in implementing resolutions that have been agreed upon here. And I want us to really, I don't want to say start, but to give effect to what we have committed ourselves to do under the rules. Because we have a lot of these reports that come here, and sometimes the report is adopted, the minister is not here, the deputy minister is not here, and you will hear only a year later, there was a resolution that was adopted that was supposed to be implemented by your ministry. So I would like to implore the desk office to do that. And where there are challenges to implement those resolutions, the ministers would then be able to come back here and say, we were able to address this, we can't address this because of 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mimi.
That said, any Honorable Ikete, you wish to reply to the comments?
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. And let me use this opportunity to thank all the honorable members for their support and their input. Honorable Hengari, it's not too late. As a young people, we are still continuing fighting so that they can be taken care of. It's good that you are doing that. We are fighting for the young people. Yes, we are fighting, all of us, including the retired Kameta, we are all fighting for the young people in this country. Yes. I want to inform the House that there was a call for the vendors to be protected. Yes, we have recommended that they should be protected. We will further, the committee will continue to have engagement as usual with the city of Windhoek and all other municipalities. We normally have engagement with town councils and municipalities, and we speak on variety of things that has to do with the development of our country. I'm saying city of Windhoek and municipality and town councils because they also have their own regulations where market should take place, whether it's now informal or formal ones. So they are the ones that normally put those information that no vendors here, no selling of anything here, and so on, and not necessarily the state. So, and Honorable Tate Kapofi, this is the same way about food that carry dust and so on. People selling close to the street. As I said, we will continue to engage the municipalities because these sellings are all happening mostly in towns. In a nutshell, I should really thank all the Honorable Amte, Honorable Emma, Honorable Mareka, and Honorable Kafula. We trust the system. The system is going to implement as per the information by the Prime Minister. It's just that we, as a committee, the committee need to also, not only the front desk, but the committee itself also need to do follow-ups all the time when reports are approved here. The committees, not necessarily the one of economics, but I'm saying the committees, meaning parliamentary committees, we are all responsible to do follow-up with the executive to make sure that things are implemented as approved by this House. Having said that, thank you very much.
Well, I now put the question that the committee report be adopted. Any objection? Then agree to. The secretary will read. Oh, there's still 5 minutes. There's still 5 minutes. 2. I should think we are. Thank you very much. We come to the conclusion of today's business. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, I will adjourn the session to tomorrow, 14:30.
Yes, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy. The House adjourns until tomorrow, at the same 14 hours 30.
Okay, thank you. The House is adjourned till tomorrow, 14:30.